Gnome Squatch, good to see you. 509er, nice to have you here. Boom to you, Bama. And Long Island Bigfoot, thank you for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. Super Chat is a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis, and we really do appreciate the love and support. A big thing for this show, everyone, is to remind you that if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Always remember as well, if you can, that this is a live radio show. We're not a podcast, so we do have commercial breaks. And I know there's a few new faces in here, so I do want to make sure that you check that out. The gorgeous and talented Jenster is here. Justin, good to see you. Jeremy Jones, welcome back, my friend. Steve Edmond, welcome. And I know we're going to get going here in just a couple of seconds, so I'm just quickly seeing if we missed anybody. I don't think we have. Oh, Robert Dixon, how are you, my friend? From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair in SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Bigfoot Michigan Rob is a regular in our chat room, usually on a nightly basis, but him and his good friend Tex, who has a fantastic beard, rocks a cowboy hat, and he's from the Lone Star State. I'm sure you would have figured that out. Well, they've gotten together to combine their knowledge in a great YouTube podcast called Brunch with Bigfoot. Together, both Tex and Bigfoot Rob tell stories of their own encounters and the experiences they've had with this elusive creature. The two also pass on information to their listeners and to you on how to properly conduct a Sasquatch investigation while taking care of the environment around them. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Bigfoot Rob and Tex, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you guys?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm so happy to be here. We've been chomping at the bit to get on here, and we finally made it.
How about for you, Rob?
Dave, man, it's a pleasure. I've been a fan of yours for the last 2 years now, and it's a surreal moment for me to be involved on this great radio station, man. And hopefully we can provide what you want to hear.
Well, you know what? We're going to get into some big stories here. And Tex, I want to start with you here because Rob sounds a little nervous, and I'm okay with that because, you know, he's looking good tonight. He really is. He's rocking the headband, which made me have to rock the headband. And, you know, Tex, you're someone who, you know, I love your style, man. I've been on your show a couple of times now talking Sasquatch with you and Rob, and you guys do a fantastic job with Brunch with Bigfoot, and it really needs to be commended with the professionalism that you guys have and the courtesy you have on this subject. Why is this subject so important to you, Tex?
Well, you know, it started before I knew it started because I had my first encounter when I was 16. Unfortunately, it wasn't with a Bigfoot. You know, I wish it had been because it'd been a lot easier to explain. My first experience was a dog man. And, but you jump forward years later, I started seeing stuff on YouTube and people were actually out there talking about this. And I got involved with a channel and one of the things that we kind of fell into was these, people were having these encounters and they're traumatized by them. They can't deal with them. And it's understandable. I mean, I was traumatized when I had my first encounter. But I've taken so many accounts and talked to so many people that have an encounter with Bigfoot or Dogman, and they say they'll never be back. They'll never go out in the woods again. It's over for them. And I hate that. It breaks my heart. And that's what started it all for me. That was the main goal of starting Trinity Paracryptic Research. And then I got lucky enough and met great people like Rob and Jason and Shell Squatch was our producer, and I've got Bob that I've known for 30 plus years. He's our executive producer, and just surrounded by so many other great people out there in the Bigfoot world that helped me get started. And that's really the main focus, is to help people, and if you're going to get out there and do this, to be safe about it.
Now, for you, Rob, when you got started in this, what kind of piqued your interest in this topic of Bigfoot?
Well, you know what, Dave? I have to apologize for sounding a little nervous earlier. I'm trying to mess around with my Microsoft software here, and it wasn't working, but now we got it going. Dave, for me personally, about 2.5 years ago, I had a Bigfoot encounter, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later. It was very traumatic for me. It was something that even today I still suffer from PTSD and such. And upon doing some research 2.5 years ago, I came across a couple channels as I looked around, and actually I heard Tex. Tex was a co-host on a show, and what Tex had to say, it really struck me. And then Tex formulated Trinity Paracryptic Research, and I became a listener to him. Later on, it was your show and other shows, and I got together with Tex, and I said, "Look, man, I'm ready with this. I'm ready to move on and talk about what I encountered, and let's do a show if I could join the show." And we took it from there, and every day it's therapy for me, because what I encountered and what I experienced changed my life. And that's the way I do it. That's what I do today. And I want to help people get through these troubling times, because I'll tell you what, the other day I was on a talk show in Los Angeles, California, promoting Jason's book, Metroplex Monsters. And Dave, dude, I broke down, and I thank God it was not on television, because I had tears in my eyes. I was welling. I started to cry. And I realized something after 2.5 years, this is still something that troubles me. And not every encounter is traumatic. I get it. But I also understand that there are people out there that are afraid to be ridiculed. They're afraid to come out and be made fun of. You don't have to do that on our show. And we offer that to people, because I was one of those people, and I still am. So therefore, my goal, my journey, is help people get through these experiences, because I tell you what, I'll never forget it. And I most certainly want to share my encounters, my experiences with those in need.
Rob, why was your encounter so emotional to you?
Well, Dave, if you want me to get right into it, I could talk about the encounter. It was June 2018. I was with my girlfriend Cindy, and Cindy and I, she never went camping or fished or hunted or anything, and I'm not a hunter but a fisherman. And I said, you know what? Let's go to Lake Cadillac. Let's go to Upper Michigan. Have a nice time. Go hiking. Let's experience the outdoors. She's like, yeah, I'm into that. So I went to Cadillac, Michigan, and I set up everything beautifully. I rented a boat to go fishing on.
Ooh, romantic.
And well, for her, it wasn't very romantic. Let me tell you. But, at the time, because she was not into it. But Thank you. And we take off on the boat. We're in Cadillac, and we're fishing on Lake Cadillac, catching some fish. And I went through this channel that went through to Mitchell Creek, which is a bay southwest of Lake Cadillac. It's an adjoining waterway, and we took the boat through there, and it's a nice desolate area. I mean, there's not a lot of homes built up around there. It backs up to the Manistee National Forest, and we're sitting along the shoreline fishing. So I'm setting up her gear because I decided to change our lures. We're not getting a lot of bites. We're not getting any fish. So I'm setting up our tackle. So Cindy says, "Hey, Rob, someone's throwing rocks at our boat." I'm like, okay, it's probably, bait fish. I kind of dismissed it. And once again, she says, "Rob, someone's throwing rocks at the boat." And I look up. I see nothing along shoreline. She's insisting upon something being tossed at us. I'm like, "Cindy, okay, let's relax. Let me get this in gear." So as I'm setting up my tackle and I'm sitting in the boat, I happen to look up in the air and I see something coming from the sky. I make it out. It is a rock. The rock is about the size of a baseball and it lands about 12 feet in front of our boat. Let's splash. I look at Cindy and she's asphyxiated at the shoreline. I stop. I look to shore, and I see this creature. I'm like 90 feet from shore as I allowed the boat to kind of drift in toward the tree line from the shore. There's this creature standing there about 9 foot tall, reddish brown hair, arms on the side of the boat, side of his body. I'm looking at this thing, and it looked like a person that had Down syndrome covered in a bunch of hair. The face was gray, scaly. The eyes were offset, and it looked like a human being. However, it was like 9 foot tall, hands like a baseball glove going past the knees, stared at me, and it really freaked me out. And at this time, now it raises its arms from aside its body and planed it out horizontal to the tree line and opens its mouth, drops its jaw, and now it turns from the human-looking creature into a demon. I always say a demon. The face got tight. The face got taut. It dropped, opened the mouth like Pac-Man. I mean, the mouth went from ear to ear, exposed some teeth that had two like incisors that were coming down maybe an inch long, kind of like a big German Shepherd. But the face just transformed into something that you would see in a Marvel comic book, something you would see in a movie. And it opens this mouth and it lets out this screech, this roar, all in unison without moving the lips. And it sent some energy, a force toward the boat. I mean, I thought it was a wake going on because I could feel in my body an impact. My girlfriend falls off the back of the boat.
Oh,
into the water. And Dave, I can't move. I am hit maybe with infrasound. It was like having a dream. I thought I was dreaming. Was I dreaming? Was I not dreaming? I could not move. I saw everything was a filter, like a black and white filter, like time had stopped or slowed down. I know my girlfriend, she fell in the water, man, and I got to, get her into the boat, but I cannot move. I move to my right. I cannot move. I'm frozen. I snap my head. I get out of it. I'm like, wow. I get over, I lift her up, I get her in the boat. I still don't know what's going on. My brain is processing all this information so fast, and this probably was a 40 seconds total, which seemed like a lifetime. The scariest part of this encounter is when I look to shore, I don't see the creature or whatever it was.
Like it disappeared.
It's gone. It's gone, and now I'm panicking. You would have thought I'd been terrified seeing it and having my girlfriend fall off the boat. I'm more scared now because where is this thing? I don't know. Is it walking underwater, swimming toward the boat? We were 90 feet from shore, and this thing was bigger than the boat. I high speed out of there. I hightail it, and we're talking, this happened on June 15th of 2018. I'll never forget the date. It was lunchtime. Beautiful sunny day. We get back to shore. My girlfriend, she's frozen, trembling cold. I am trembling and probably in shock. I put a blanket on her. I pick her up, take her out of the boat. I look for the nearest restaurant, bar, wherever we could get into. We got into one. We sat back in the corner of the bar. She's shivering. And I'm like, I just don't know what's going on right now. I'm still thinking I'm dreaming, right? I know I'm not, but it was so crazy. We sit back. My girlfriend at the time does not drink. She ordered a shot of whiskey and a beer. In fact, I remember distinctly she got a shot of Jack Daniels and a Bud Light bottle of beer. And I joined her. We're in the corner of this bar. She goes, Rob, what do you think we saw? I said, honey, what do you think it was? And the funny thing, Dave, is she and I never spoke of Bigfoot. We never spoke of cryptids or anything of this nature. And the first things out of her mouth was, I think we saw Bigfoot. And my immediate response was, baby, I think we did. So we drink our drink. She says, let's go to the DNR and report it, And here's what I'm getting at. I said, no way. I'm not reporting this. I'm not telling nobody. We're going to look like idiots. I know what we've seen. You know what we've seen. No one will believe us. Which is my first mistake, by the way. Until doing what I do now, that's everybody should report their encounters. But I was so traumatized by it. So we get home. We jump on, I always thought YouTube was a platform to watch, like Led Zeppelin live or Guns N' Roses live. I never used it for information. So I started going about looking at videos and all these things. And I came across Tex. I came across some other reputable people, Duke Sullivan, Carrie Arnold, Bigfoot Odyssey, things of that nature. And then I got wrapped up into it. But the thing that struck me is it put me in a deep depression and I got real dark. Because what happened, my girlfriend died 2 months later.
Oh, Jesus.
And every time I tell this story, Dave, I cry, man. I love that woman. And it was, you talk about seeing some beast that I call a demon today. And I know they're not. I don't want this to be negative because it's not negative what we're speaking on today. But at the time, I just wanted to go kill this creature. I did. And she passed away, and I thought that perhaps that it affected her. And I wanted to go back to Cadillac, Michigan, and I wanted to bring a bazooka and blow up that whole forest. I came to my senses, but I talked to people that have had encounters, and they kind of walked me through what I saw was real. And probably Bigfoot did not kill my girlfriend. But at the time, I certainly thought that he did, or it did, or whatever you want to call it. And it set me off on this journey, man. And I've been investigating it, doing the best I can to get answers. And I love Tex. I love to be a part of his show. And it helps me each and every day. It serves therapy purposes for me because it's something I'll truly never forget. I'll never forget June 15th, 2018 at 12:06 in the afternoon. The day I saw Bigfoot. And I'll never forget it. Never forget it.
Well, I'm very sorry for your loss there, my friend. You know, I mean, out of all the times we've talked, and we've never really gone in depth about anything like that. So, you know, thank you for having the strength to tell that story. You know, when you hear a story like that, Tex, and you combine it with what you have learned, I mean, what's your thoughts about, you know, what Rob went through that day? I mean, that's pretty heavy stuff there, man.
It is, and it's hard to deal with. The first thing that you have to give somebody that goes through a traumatic experience like this is just an ear to bend. You have to listen. You know, talking is probably the most least important thing you do. You give them, a platform, a safe platform to express, their feelings and what they're going through. And that's the first step of the healing process, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm no professional, I've dealt with this stuff. And I guess I have a soft spot in my heart for people that have too. And it's, I know it's there. He says it's therapeutic for him. It's therapeutic for me to be able to be there and to be even a small part of this, But the first thing that I want to try to get across to people that's had these experiences, if you're traumatized by it, but yet you're scared to talk about it, find yourself a safe platform, somebody that you trust, to talk about it, that will listen to you. And there's several of us out there. There's some good people out there that will, it's like us, just because we do, we have a YouTube channel, we do shows, and we have guests that have encounters. Don't think just because you reach out to us, we're going to ask you to be on the show. If that's the avenue you want to go down, more power to you. If you're feeling froggy, please jump on. But if it's just, I've been talking to a guy from Arizona the last couple of weeks. He's just, he can't figure out what's going on. He can't figure out his relationship with these things. And me and him's been working together about it. And that's the first step. That's the first step is getting out there and finding somebody that you trust and talk to them, somebody that will listen to you and give you a safe platform to do so, and not expect you to go up on their show and talk to you, just because they want likes or subscribers or whatever. That's not what it's about. That's not what Trinity Paracryptic Research is about. That's not what Brunch with Bigfoot's about. That's not what Texas Front Porch is about. I don't care if you come on the show or not. I really don't. What's important to me is that you reach out and you get it off your chest. That's the only way I can describe it. But you have to be careful. There's some folks out there that's all they want to do is, you got to come on my show and tell this. No, that's not the way it works.
No, I agree. I agree. Rob, we got about 10 seconds.
Yeah, real quick, that's why I do what I do today, man. It has nothing to be on TV or be on an internet show host, nothing like that. I don't care two craps about that. What I experienced was real. It's got to get out there, and people need to know about these things. And, hey, if you got a problem, I will help you. Tex will help you. David, you'll help them. It is what it is. That's why I do what I do.
Absolutely. Bigfoot Rob and Tex. Brunch with Bigfoot. Let's go searching for Sasquatch. When we come back, we got to hear Tex's story here when he first encountered the big hairy man. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this. That was heavy, dude. A couple of things. Happy birthday, Chad Smith. Happy birthday, Chad Smith. Welcome. You must be some sort of intoxicated to be here on your birthday, man. But we're glad you're here, so we can wish you a happy birthday. And yeah, we appreciate you, man. And let's all send some love over to Helena, one of our good listeners here, who's here usually nightly. She had her doggy pass away today, so let's say let's send her some love. We got to send her some love.
It's like losing a member of the family.
You got that right.
Yep, absolutely.
Stu Gerson, there you are, buddy. Good to see you. Good to have you back. Let's see. Eva is back. Eva. Welcome. I like when you Bigfoot guys come on because all of a sudden I see all these new faces that I've never seen before in the chat room. Yeah, when Duke's on or you guys are on or Gary Spikes Jr.'s in the chat room tonight, let's give him a shout out. Hey, Big Gary, how are you, buddy?
He'd be a good one to have on your show.
Yeah, we've had him back. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I have told Gary's story privately off the air so many times now. I feel like I was there.
I felt like I was there all over again telling that story, man. It's like, I swear to God, I'm sorry. I always get emotional. I tell that story, and I guess it's never going to leave me, man. It's unbelievable.
It's a grieving process. It's exactly what it is. You go through the same stages.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
Talking about Gary Jr. over here, him and Pops were in the field with us this last couple of weeks at Brown Springs, brother.
Absolutely. Yep. Sorry.
Bigfoot Rob, you're getting a lot of love in the chat room, man. A lot of love in the chat room.
Well, actually, I'd like to say hello to all my chat friends because I've known you guys for a little while now, and I love each and every one of you. And I can't see it on my computer because I can't pull it up, but thanks and love to everybody. I love you guys, and I enjoy being your friend and chat with you guys. I love y'all.
Oh, man, they're loving you, man. They're loving you. And all I know is that Big Tex there as well. I mean, isn't that a gorgeous beard, people? Just stare at that. Could you touch that for us there, Tex? Oh, there it is. Look at that. Look at that. You know what? We're going to get you a sponsorship with Mighty Moose Beard Oil. I'm serious.
I'll take it.
I know Gary
the Dutchman.
I know Gary the Dutchman is probably, I'm not sure if he's tuned in yet or not, but damn it, Gary the Dutchman, you know what? I can guarantee you, Gary the Dutchman, when we do our promo here coming up, that Big Tex there, we send him some Mighty Moose Beard Oil, he's going to promote the hell out of your product.
Yes, I will.
Guaranteed. Oh, dude, you'd love it. You'd love it. Oh, Gorgeous Jules is already getting excited over the beard.
Well, I got to tell you, I have been bouncing from beard product to beard product to beard product, trying to find one I like. And I haven't settled on one yet.
All right. Big thank you to Chad for the super chat. And thank you again to Long Island Bigfoot for another super chat. Really do appreciate it, guys. It's a great way to support what we do in the show. By the way, Tex, if you ever decide to shave your beard, I would like it for my studio collection.
Well, I'll tell you what, me and guest you had on not too long ago, Jason McLean, which is my co-host on,
nice guy.
Yeah, heck of a nice guy. Don't tell him I said that.
I won't, I promise.
He's my co-host on Texas Front Porch. And we have a little wager going because, I mean, as sexy as Jason is, and personally I have the body of a god. It just happens to be Buddha. But we made a wager on losing weight. Whoever loses the most weight by the end of the year gets to shave the loser's beard off on air live.
Oh my goodness. He lost, didn't he?
I told him the other day he is going to lose, and he's going to lose royally.
Well, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we got about 20 seconds. Big thank you to Jeremy, Long Island Bigfoot ×2, Chad 509, and Greco for the super chats. It's a great way to support what we do. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell so you know when we are on live, and we'd really appreciate it. Here we go, everyone. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with the big show, talking Bigfoot all night long. From Michigan, we got Bigfoot Rob, and from Texas, we have Big Tex. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it.
Appreciate you having
Thanks,
us,
Dave.
brother.
I love Vinny's comment in the chat room. Dave, Rob, and Tex look like the starting lineup for the 1978 Pittsburgh Steelers. That is
Vinny.
awesome. Absolutely awesome. Thank you, Vin. Appreciate your kind words and everything that you do for this show, man. I really do. I want to ask you, Tex, and bring you in here. Your first encounter was actually with a dog man. I want to
Yes,
hear
sir.
about that, man.
Well, you know, and it's like I said earlier, I wish it had been a Bigfoot. It'd have been a heck of a lot easier to explain. Because it was when I was 16, and back then, the term dog man didn't even exist. The only thing I knew was werewolf at that point. And, you know, when I grew up out in the country, and I was, by the age 12, I was, you know, fishing, trapping, hunting, camping, you know, by myself. And so I was at home in the woods. I mean, you know, it was no big deal. And I'd been out hunting. I'd just been out shooting some rabbits and had a couple on my belt and was walking home. And we had 20 acres, and there's a spot that an old man had, and he had about, I think it was about 1,600 acres, and he had it divided, and I'd go over there and hunt and kind of be his. Of course, back then it was different, because if you got somebody's permission to hunt or fish or whatever on their property, you acted as eyes and ears for them too. If you saw anything wrong on the property, if you couldn't fix it, you at least brought it to their attention. So, you know, it was kind of, that's how you paid them back. But anyway, I was walking home, and that little spot will come into play. But I was walking home, and it was on white gravel road. The sun wasn't down yet. It was about to dip below the hill. We lived down in the valley. It was about to dip below the hill, not the horizon. So it was still daylight. And I was just about to jump the fence and make a beeline for the house. And this thing come busting out of my left, on the left side out of the brush, ran across the road and dove over the fence. But it was on two legs, and it was about 7.5 feet tall. And it looked every bit of a canine, every bit of a canine. It was gray with some silver hints in it. Had human-like hands. I don't think it didn't have the backward dog legs. It had long feet. It was up on its toes, but that was, you know, it didn't have the reverse leg joint and all that kind of stuff. But the thighs on this thing were massive. The chest was massive. The arms were they were good size, and it wasn't covered in like long bushy hair. It was kind of thin hair, and it was about 4 inches long. But on the back, starting at the top of its head, going down its back, like across its shoulders and down its back to a point. The only way I knew to describe it, it had a mane. The ears were pinned back, like when if you've ever been around dogs when they're upset, or a horse when it gets upset, they pin their ears back. The ears were pinned back, and the thing that I have frozen in my mind, and every time I draw it, that's how I draw it. Is it turned its head and it snarled at me in mid stride, just like I never felt like my life was in danger. I didn't get that feeling. It scared the bejesus out of me. Don't get me wrong. It was an underwear changing moment. But there's a difference, between being in fear of your life and just being spooked or scared. But anyway, he dove over the fence. He didn't jump it. He didn't hurdle it. He dove over it. And when he dove over the fence and he hit it on the ground on the other side in our pasture, he went down to all fours. And it was a smooth transition. He just dove over the fence, went right down to all fours, hit that tall love grass, and I saw the grass move for about 10 or 15 yards, and that was it. Now, at this point, I had a choice to make. I could either he went the way I was fixing to go. So I could either follow him into the long grass, which that was pretty much a no-brainer I wasn't going to do. Or I could take the long way home, and I had to walk up this road I was on, go across the front of our place, and back down our driveway on the other side. And that's what I ended up doing. And I had a few rabbits hanging on my belt. I mean, it's not like if he'd have wanted me, he'd have got me. There wasn't nothing I could have done. I didn't have no ammo for my gun. Of course, it wasn't nothing but a little 410. But I don't know. I remember thinking that the whole walk is pretty much a blur, and it's about a mile. But I remember being up on the top road going across, and I remember thinking to myself, at least I may get a swing at him if he charges me, if I'm out here in the open. But the rest of it's pretty much a blur till I walk in the house. I walked in the back door of the house. My mom had a golden rule: no guns in the kitchen. And
I'm sorry. You know how weird that sounds to me being Canadian? No, son, you can take your gun anywhere, but keep it out of the goddamn kitchen.
Did I mention I grew up in the country? But I walked down the hallway and I pretty much collapsed in the kitchen chair, and I put my gun on the kitchen table. My mama was in the kitchen, and she turned around. I can't remember if she was cooking or washing dishes or something. And she turned around and she was going to scold me for the gun. And her mouth dropped open, and she says, "Oh, my God, you're white as a sheet. What happened?" And as hard as I tried to tell her, I couldn't speak. Literally, nothing would come out. I tried. Well, my sister lived on the same property about 50 yards away from us. She called my sister. She come over, and between the two of them, it took them about 45 minutes to calm me down enough where I could talk. And when I told them what happened, of course, they're trying to convince me that I saw a big coyote. I saw, some homeless guy, something. And my imagination ran off with it. It's like, no. And I stuck to my guns, years and years and years later. And props to my family. They were supportive. They didn't tell me I was crazy. They didn't tell me I was lying. They just didn't know what to think. But it scared me so bad that I didn't hardly leave the house or the immediate vicinity. I'd go, feed the animals and stuff, but I didn't stick around. I went and did my stuff, and I come right back to the house. I wouldn't go if I was at my sister's house and it got dark. I stayed there. If I wouldn't go home, I'd spend the night. And that was only 50 yards, but I didn't want to get out there. But I went through this for about 6 months, and I have a problem. I hate bullies. Cannot stand them. And probably 90% of the fights I've ever been in was I was taken up for somebody else from a bully. I just can't tolerate them. And that's what it began to feel like. I felt like I was being bullied. And it made me mad. And I come to the conclusion, I don't care what happens, I'm not going to let you keep me from doing what I love. And that goes back to a lot of reports and stuff that we get. It stops them from doing the stuff they love. They don't go out in the woods. They won't go hunting. They won't go fishing anymore. And I hate that. It breaks my heart. So I started venturing out. Now, don't get me wrong. I was scared, but I started venturing out further. And eventually I started doing right back to what I was doing. And that little spot that I told you about, that old feller's place, was my favorite place to hunt. Half of his place, he had it in a hay field. The other half was undeveloped, and he just let it go. And it was divided by a fence. And the brush was so thick that you had to travel the game trails. And it was just me and two other boys that hunted this place. And you'd be on your hands and knees sometimes on the game trails. And then it would open up. You'd be going through the brush, and it would open up into these clearings. Anywhere from a size just enough to lay down into almost as big as the footprint of a house. And it would have that about 12-inch prairie grass in it, maybe a scrub oak or, mesquite tree in it. It was just phenomenal. So anyway, I was going over to go hunting. And there was a deadfall that had fallen across a tree. I told the boy about it, but he hadn't sawed it up yet. So that's what I would use. I'd come up out of the creek bottom and I'd go over that tree and then just jump right over into the woods. I was just about to step up on the tree and I heard something walking in the trees, in the brush. I said, "Hey, who's out there?" And it stopped. I said, "David, Doug, at one of y'all?" Those two, they were twins that lived on the other side of it, and they hunted it. And it just kind of shifted its weight. I said, "Look, if that's somebody out there, you need to tell me." It shifted its weight again. I said, "Look," I said, "if you don't say something, I'm going to shoot." Nothing. So I popped off a round up in the air, and all hell broke loose. This thing come crashing through the trees, breaking branches, and I didn't even wait. Dave, I ain't proud. I ain't too proud to tell you this. Old Tex tucked tail and he run. That's back when Tex could run. It was about almost 2 miles back to the house. I ran the entire way and never looked back. If this critter was going to get me, I didn't want to know it.
Was that the dog man again?
That's the only thing I can figure. It's the same area. Jump forward a lot of years. When I said earlier, I started, finding stuff out on YouTube. People were talking about this. And I came across an old gal. Unfortunately, she's not doing it anymore. She was fantastic, but she was the first one that I went to. She had a YouTube channel about dog man. And we were talking about my encounter and all this kind of stuff. And she started asking me questions about things that had happened prior to and after and during when all this was taking place. And about a year before I had the initial sighting, we had a dog get killed. Well, that's kind of nature of the beast out there in the country, it happens. Well, the way he disappeared, and the way we found him, we started smelling him. He's underneath the house. Well, Daddy wasn't going to go in there and get him, so Tex had to go get him, drag him out from underneath the house. And when I pulled him out, it looked like somebody had took him by the front legs and just gutted him. Now, Daddy said he probably got into it with the bobcat. Daddy knows better than I do. All right. I'm good with that. Of course, like I said, that's about a year before any of this stuff took place. Just wrote it off, you know. I hated missing the dog, but then we had another thing on the way. There was a pond between the house and where that piece of woods was that I like to hunt. And a piece of property backed up to this pond, and there were some folks over there that owned it, and they had a lot of horses. Well, they just packed up and left one day. Just left. And I was out there roaming around, you know, I'd been fishing in the pond and stuff, and I was messing around their place. And I came across a horse skeleton. It still had some hide on it. But what was weird about it, it really hadn't been disturbed, you know, because normally something dies, you know, the predators and everything, they'll just scatter it to the four winds. But this thing had not been. I just at that point, I just thought it was cool to have a horse skull in the rock garden back at the house, you know.
Yeah.
And then she started telling me, well, what reports we're getting about dog men is for some reason they'll kill dogs or pets and throw them up under structures around the properties. Bigfoot has been reported to do this, but most of the time they'll just throw it up against the side of it. But dog men normally will throw animals that they kill underneath a structure. I don't know why. But thank you, Jeremy. But she said, well, and that's probably what happened. You probably had him around a lot longer than you thought. It wasn't just the initial sighting. And of course, everybody talks out there and shares information. You know, you always hear about the newborn calf getting missed, or, you know, some, you know, mare would drop a foal and it'd go missing, or somebody's horse would get tore up, or they had some chickens go missing or something. We had a big cat in the area. Now, a big cat has anywhere from 150 to 300 square mile radius that their territory. They'll just make rounds. That's why you see them every for a couple of months. Those attacks would get written off on a big cat or a pack of wild dogs every time. And she brought up a good point. She goes, well, it probably wasn't wild if they were finding big canine prints or whatever. Probably wasn't a pack of wild dogs. It was probably this critter making its rounds. And so, you know, it's just, you put two and two together and connecting all the dots, you know, I mean, you know, if it quacks like a duck, it looks like good, well, it's probably a duck. So, you know, but it was weird because after I got a year or so after this all happened, I pretty much just put it in the back of my mind and really wouldn't talk about it much. Every once in a while I get brought up around the house, and you know, you still think you saw that werewolf? Yeah, you know. And me and my buddies, we were out drinking one night, swapping stories and everything. And a friend of mine was sitting there, and I told my story, and he got really, really quiet. So after we all kind of broke up and everything and went our own ways, I pulled him aside and said, hey, what's wrong with you, man? He goes, man, I got to tell you something. Well, he had come across something that was different than mine, but it was canine. And it come up out of a field. He was driving home one night, and it come up out of a field, running on all fours beside his car, and kept up with him to about 50 miles an hour, and then veered back off and was looking in the window at him as it loped down the freaking road, keeping up with him. And he said it was all gnarled and twisted and naughty looking and everything. You see, that sounds like the hellhound, demon dog type thing that you hear about, So, but years later, years later, after I got into this YouTube thing and started talking to people and everything, that's what led me. Here I am,
That's amazing, man. That's absolutely amazing. We've only got about 3.5 minutes before we have to go to break here at the top of the hour. Rob, when you hear a story like Texas, which is so up close and personal, much like yourselves, how do you grow from that? How do you want to go looking and learning for this creature?
Well, Tex, man, I've known Tex now for a little over a year, maybe 2 years. That's the first time I really heard that, the way he described it. And that's awesome, bro. And that's why we do what we do, because people that have these different encounters that are scared to come forth. That's why I love the premise of what's going on here tonight with the show. It happens. Hey, I don't want to say daily. I don't have the numbers, but you know what? There's so many people out there that need to reach out and explain things. I talked about my encounter, and once again, I almost broke down on your show, Dave. I've been doing this for 2.5 years. I had an encounter. Texas, beautiful story. There's a lot of people out there to suffer from keeping it bottled up. When you keep something bottled up inside, eventually something's going to blow. And it's not always positive. When you exhume and you release the energy within your body, I don't care if it's even Bigfoot or dog, man. It could be anything in your life. If you're not talking about it, you're going to suffer a meltdown. Something's going to happen. And that's why I commend Tex with the story, and everybody else comes forth, and people on your show, Dave. It's what it's all about. And what Tex just said, hey, it's something I just learned today, and it moved me, man. It all moves. I'm an emotional guy anyway, and I'm a people person. I'm a fan of man, and that's how I want to keep it rolling.
Tex, for you, having these encounters at such a young age, how did you not get freaked out about going back into the forest? We got about 1.5 minutes.
Well, it's like I said, I don't think I wasn't spooked and I wasn't freaked out. I was. It's just I felt like I was being bullied and I wasn't going to tolerate it. It was flat out. It was anger for me that pushed me back out there, and I still use that today when I go out, because we'll get into that in a minute, but I do a lot of my research solo at night.
I want to start spending more time at night in the forest. There's just something different about it. There really is. And, for people who haven't been in the middle of the wilderness and all of a sudden heard everything go silent, there's nothing more that raises the hair on your neck than everything going silent. And when we come back from the break here in just a few seconds' time here, guys, I want to get into some of these stories about these encounters that you have heard, some of the strange, weird encounters that you guys have incurred on your own and people have told you on your show, Breakfast with Bigfoot on YouTube, because let's just tell stories all night long, man. If we got to skip the news tonight to tell Bigfoot stories, I'm sure Captain Shirk will understand, but I'm up for it. I know you guys are as well, and I just appreciate you guys being here because, you know what? There's some amazing, incredible tales out there, but we got to go looking for Bigfoot at night. We got to go looking for Bigfoot at night. Little Marky Spender, my Bigfoot partner, if you are listening right now, I'm going to tell you, we got to go at night. Yes, Bigfoot Rob, Big Tex from Texas, go figure. We're looking for Bigfoot, searching for Sasquatch, and sharing stories all night long. Spaced Out Radio continues next.
We got a lot of people from our channel over here in chat. I want to.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Hi, the Philip Matlock. All right.
Cool.
You guys chat away. I'm going to run my dogs outside. I'll be right back, okay?
All righty.
Yeah, you guys
Very good.
just chat away.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people out here, Rob, that
Oh yeah, I see quite a bit, man. I'm looking off my phone and looking on the computer for the show, and I want to say once again to everybody that subscribes to our channel, Trinity Peer Cryptid Research and Brunch with Bigfoot, and me, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. I love you guys, man. I love all you guys. I've known you guys for a while, and thank you for listening, man. I have to step away myself.
you need to tell them that, about your channel, because you give a heads up about who we're going to have. And
Yeah, okay, you guys, service announcement. Bigfoot Michigan Rob is a channel. There's not a lot of content. I got 250 subscribers or something. But I do give up what's going on Trinity Peer Cryptid Research and Brunch with Bigfoot and Texas Front Porch. So I do utilize that to advertise our show. And I'm looking to grow my channel because we're going to branch off and do a lot of things special with Trinity Peer Cryptid and Bigfoot Rob, so check it out, subscribe, like it, like Tex. If you're not a subscriber of Trinity Peer Cryptid, please do it. And I hate to sound like a salesman, but I was brought up that way. I owned a bar, for God's sakes. But I got to step away for a minute. Tex, keep them entertained.
I can do that. Let me see what we got in here. Well, Justin, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, if y'all can catch us, we've got 2 live shows that we do every week, and it's Monday nights at 6:30 p.m. Central. You can catch me and Jason on, which was on this show not long ago, a few days ago, on Texas Front Porch. And then you got me and Rob on Thursdays at noon Central on Brunch with Bigfoot. But that's not all we got on our channel. You've got my research. You got some of my research on there. You've got some encounters that we've been sent that I've narrated, and I've had other people narrate for me. And so there's some I think it's pretty entertaining, and we're having a good time doing it. Y'all come over and pay us a visit sometime. Tell them Tex sent you. Since Rob's gone, I can say that. Thank you, Cashew. See if I can catch some more. Aaron, no, I don't. I carry a Bowie knife. That's what I carry. Recent events and me talking to some people in law enforcement in the area and stuff, and seeing sign and having some encounters with pigs and stuff like that, I'm going to start carrying, and it's not because of the critters. It's because of the pigs, it's just a safety thing. So I will start carrying. I get beat up all the time by everybody on my crew and everybody else. I need to go armed. I need to go armed. So I finally gave in. I'm going to start carrying. Julie, are you calling me a nut? I've been called worse, I'll tell you that. Let's see. What have I done to Dave Scott? Who am I and what I've done to Dave Scott? Dave is attending to his 4-legged family members at the time, and Rob has stepped away after to visit the little boy's room. There he is. So you're stuck with me for a few minutes while we're on commercial break.
All right. We got about 90 seconds here, boys.
I just got asked a question I get asked every time I talk. Do you carry when you go out in the woods?
I don't, because I don't have my gun license.
Well, I don't, and it's by choice. But it's like I was telling everybody in chat, because of recent events and me talking to local law enforcement and being advised by them to carry and seeing a lot of pig sign and running into some pigs, that's the only reason I'm going to start carrying. Normally I carry a Bowie knife. I've got a 15 and a half inch Bowie knife that I carry. But I've been advised by everybody on my crew and everybody that's ever heard me talk about what I do that I need to carry a gun. So I'm going to start packing. But it's just for pigs. The critters I don't worry about.
Yeah, those hogs got to be something in Texas, man. I'd be scared of that. That's Bigfoot aside, Dogman aside. I think those hogs that would drive me crazy.
Yeah, it can get a little intimidating.
I bet. Gentlemen, hold on here. We're going to get going in 10 seconds. Thank you to Vinster, Jeremy, Long Island Bigfoot, Chad 509, and Greco for the super chats. Thank you to our new subscribers. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free for you by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Effusiometer. Effusiometer is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with Tex and Bigfoot Rob. We're talking Sasquatch all night long here. And gentlemen, we say thank you for joining us and welcome back.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Now, Rob, you've only been doing this for a couple of years since you had your personal encounter and experience. What have you learned the biggest going from amateur to where you are right now?
Well, I will first say that I'm not yet boots on the ground, but however, over 2 years, I've learned quite a bit from Tex and actually Duke, from World Bigfoot Radio. I talk to him quite often. And, the biggest thing that I've learned is that these things are in front of us when we don't see them. They are everywhere and anywhere. And to the average eye that's not trained, and mine's not trained, you just don't know. You could be going on a hike in your national forest, your national park, and you could walk right past one of these things and not even know it. And that brings up the question of what are they? How are they so elusive? They're very elusive creatures. And the average person, I have a story. My brother, hunting 25 years, told me a story. He believes, I talked to him. He knows about my Bigfoot encounter. And he's like, Rob, man, I can't see these things. And I have been hunting for 20 years. So he tells me a story. He's hunting a deer. He lines up a deer. He's at it in the sights. He shoots it. He hits it. He sees it bleed, splatters blood. He tracks it. He tracked this thing for about a half hour, followed a blood trail. All of a sudden, the blood trail ends. And it ends at a tree. He's looking around. Where did this deer go? He's perplexed. And then he looks at the base of the tree, and going up about 6 feet on the base of a tree, a white oak tree, a base, maybe as he's told me, 4 foot wide, very big tree. He's looking up, he sees blood going up this tree. Deer's gone though. He goes, and when he looked, and the thing that really impressed me about this is when he looked on the ground, he actually sees where the deer had laid and fell. Now he's about 4 miles into the woods. There's nobody around. He sees the impression of the deer lying on the ground. He looks up the tree, as I mentioned, sees the blood. I'm like, Dave, and my brother. That's my brother's name's Dave. And I go, hey, bro, that was Sasquatch, man. He stole your deer. He took that deer. He put it over his shoulder. He went up that tree, and he took off. He's like, and then he stops. He wonders. He's bewildered. He goes, well, there's no other explanation because there's no one around here. And first of all, they're 3 to 5 miles in the woods. No one's dragging it out. There was no trail of someone dragging out a deer. You can't get a vehicle back there, not even a small 4x4 unit. That right there tells me Bigfoot or something out of this world, right? And this is one of the things that I've learned since, being involved in this genre, in what we do. They're there. We just don't see them because we don't look for them. We don't have the trained eye. I don't have a trained eye. I certainly do not. I want to get keen on that when I go out in the forest. Now I kind of know what to look for, but I don't. You see you don't. Everyone sees. My brother was making mention to me about how he would see a tree 6 feet up, 8 feet up, and it's a solid tree. It's a new tree. It's not an old tree. It wasn't hit by lightning. There was no tornado. Yet the branch is broke, but it's not broken. It's not snapped. Everyone thinks that a snapped branch is a Bigfoot. Oh, no, that's not the case. This thing was a new sapling, 4 inches in diameter. It was taken down, snapped, and twisted several times where the sinew of the tree is like wrapped and just twisted up. I went in my backyard yesterday because I'm cutting down a couple trees. I took a 2-inch diameter tree that I want to get rid of, and I kind of snapped and broke it, and I still couldn't even snap it, and I started twisting it. And for the life of me, I'm 200 pounds, and I could not even break that. And we're talking about 2 inches round. So the strength of these things, they're around everywhere. You hear stories about Bigfoot in communities. You hear Bigfoots in the suburbs. Well, you know what? I don't know how true that is, but you know what? My mind is open to they're everywhere and anywhere. And I can see a guy hunting for 30 years not seeing these things because they are creatures that are elusive, and it's just a phenomenon. I'm astounded by it. And that's why I love this. I just love this. I love this topic. I love this subject. I love doing what I'm doing today.
Tex, for you, when you hear of all the stories that you have heard, is there, not with your own encounters, but is there a story out there that really sticks out for you?
I've narrated several encounters that, I get sent to me and stuff. I think one of them that really sticks out to me is there was a gentleman, he was out on his deer lease, and he's sitting up against a tree, and there's a tank, there's a pond, and it's got a dam built up on the backside of it. And he's just kind of scoping things out. And he sees this little dark head playing peekaboo behind the dam, up and down. And then it'll move and be over here, peekaboo, peekaboo. And he puts his scope on it, and it looks like ape-like, human-like, And he puts his crosshairs on it. He's just about to pull the trigger. And this thing looks at him and shakes his head no.
Really?
And just backs down the backside of the dam and disappears. Now, when we talk about the intelligence of these things, I personally credit them with the intelligence level of a killer whale. Now, before everybody jumps on me, oh, they're smarter than any dumb killer whale. You better do your research on killer whales, because these are some smart critters. I think they have the intuition of like a horse or a dog. I think they can tell intentions. I think they're like us. If you've ever spent any time out in the brush and there's a big predator around, your hackles go up. You can tell you're not alone. We just did an expedition, 3 nights, 4 days. I took the crew up to a certain spot. One of the first comments there, we're not alone. We're being watched. And, getting back to hunters, I've had people that's hunted all their life and there's, oh man, them things ain't out there. They don't exist. I've been hunting for 30, 40 years. I've never seen one. My first question is, were you looking for them?
Right.
You know what? That is so right, because my Sasquatch buddy, Mark, he knew nothing of this creature, didn't believe it. He'd been a hunting guide and a cougar tracker, a wolf tracker. He's been hunting for 35 years. And he's like, I would have seen something in the forest. I mean, this guy's so smart, man. I remember we were walking along this path, and he goes, oh, the wild horses were here. I said, how do you know? He goes, the footprints. And I looked down on the ground and said, where's the footprints? And he's like, well, see how that moss is bent with that leaf right there? It's in a hoof. And I'm like, where? Like, I didn't even see it, but he was on it just like that. But he was always like, I would have seen a footprint. I would have seen something. And then I showed him a footprint in the forest. And he bent down on one knee, Tex, and for about 30 minutes, he just kneeled down there and he goes, I can't believe this. This can't be real. What the hell is this? And the only thing I could say to him was, welcome to the world of Sasquatch.
Right.
That's all you could tell him.
Well, and I saw some stuff in, thank you, Todd. I've seen some stuff in the chat about, interdimensional beings and all this kind of stuff. And I understand that mindset. I really do. I've got good friends that claim to mind speak with these creatures. And that's one thing about, us over Trinity Paraccredited Research. We're very open-minded. I'm not going to call somebody a liar. I'm not going to tell you that you didn't experience what you experienced. Okay? Who am I to say that? I've had, unbelievable experience. And I appreciate that, Dave. And I'm not going to dismiss anybody's encounter or experiences. Just not going to do it. I won't have any of the people that represent me, and it's not my channel. It's our channel. You might as well call us family, because we basically are. I mean, we're there for, each other. We keep up with, what's going on, or we try to, and we do for each other. And I think you have to have that camaraderie when you get into this kind of stuff, because you have to have people that you can lean on, you can trust.
That is so true. I want to get to this mind speak thing here for a second, if you guys don't mind. And Tex, we'll start with you on this. What do you think is up with that? Because I've even heard stories up here, First Nations hunters who've raised rifles to Sasquatch and Dogman, thinking that they were people, 200 yards away, and all of a sudden they get this telepathic type message that says, I just wouldn't do that if I were you.
Right.
What's your opinion of this mind speak?
Well, and that's something we've been trying to figure out. And now this is my personal belief, guys. I'm allowed to have mine just like you're allowed to have yours. I don't think these creatures are mind speaking to people. Unfortunately, I think they're having these experiences. But my worry is that it's not what they think it is. It's something that's trying to get their foot in the door on a spiritual side of these people. And it's presenting themselves as something that these people are looking for. Does that make sense?
Well, that goes to our next question, which is from Trev here, or T-Rev. Do you believe that they can cloak?
I don't think they have to. I just, in fact, just on our last show, Rob, we pretty much proved that they don't have to. Because I did a thing on comparing gorillas to Bigfoot. Now, I know everybody's going to go, whoa, they're not gorillas. No, they're not dumb apes, as some people would put it. And gorillas aren't dumb either. But you take a 300-pound gorilla, he can take 2 steps into the forest and he's gone. And I've got there's pictures out there to prove it on my channel. You can look it up on mine and Rob's last show. It floored me. It really did. I know that you can disappear in the forest really, really quick if you're even halfway decent. All you got to do is break up your silhouette. People don't realize how easy it is. When I was a tanker in the Army, I could hide a 51-ton tank in a stand of trees. Trust me, a Bigfoot can take 2 steps in the brush and go poof, and he's gone. And it's like Rob said a while ago, you can walk right by these things and never know it. If you don't believe me, go watch a few things on sniper training and see how well those guys can disappear. And then you times that, you crank that dial up to 100 with these creatures. Their life depends on them doing this, and they do it every minute of every day. So, no, I don't think they cloak. I don't think they have to.
Rob, what's your opinion?
As much as I like to say that I think Bigfoot is part of the woo, my opinion always fluctuates, but I look at it this way. I'm kind of in the same ballpark with Tex. I think that, especially since discussing with Tex with his Brown Spring encounters, I think there are things out there that are woo. I think there are things in the forest that we don't know are out there. I do believe in spirits and ghosts. I do believe that there are energies that portray themselves as a Bigfoot, a dog man, a goat man, any other type of being. And I think that they try to convince people that maybe they are a Bigfoot, but they have another agenda. And in my opinion, it's an evil agenda because, if you're in the forest, you're hunting or whatever, you don't get that feeling. But if you're looking for the things, let's face it, folks, when you're in the forest and they know, these entities out there know that you're looking for something. Let's say that they know that you're on a Bigfoot expedition. There are so many things out there that want to play tricks on your mind. There are things out there that want to persuade you to a different attitude. And I think they're great manipulators. And if they know you're looking for Bigfoot, they want to convince you otherwise. They do. I believe that. And I never thought I would say that. But today, I think that's a fact. I don't think Bigfoot is out there trying to scare you. I don't think Bigfoot's out there to try to scare you out of the woods. They don't want to deal with us. Bigfoot does not want to be seen by humans. Therefore, they hide. You can walk past a Bigfoot and not see it. The things that a lot of people see in their research or going on a trail walk are seeing other things. And that's the road I'm taking on that. And I believe that. How many times have you gone camping and sat in the park or in the woods and you've heard certain things and you can't recognize what the animal is? And you're like, what is this? It's something manifested from, I think, the woo. As far as Bigfoot goes, no, I think it's an elusive creature, man. And I think there's more out there in the forest and the woods than we know about. And that's what really drives me to finding these things out. I'm going down to Brown Springs with Tex in a few months because I want to learn these things. And I'm just fascinated. And I think that, you talk about orbs and UFO sightings and Bigfoot all in consort with each other. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But I think there's other things that we don't even know about. We're talking about Bigfoot today, and we could be talking about some other creature in a year that no one ever heard about, like the rake.
Exactly. Rob, we got 3 minutes here before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Robert is asking, what do the powers that be hide the information about Sasquatch, or why? What do you think that is? Or are they?
Well, the powers that hide the Bigfoot, in my opinion, is the government. I mean, I don't know. My opinion right off the top of my head is the government. I think that they know these things exist. Just like UFOs, you go back to Teddy Roosevelt, Eisenhower. I think that they know they're there. I think they don't want to put it out to the public because what happens when, let's say that there's the government makes a statement that Bigfoot exists, UFOs exist, right? All of a sudden, we're going to have a public panic. People are going to be going crazy. Logging industries are going to be shut down. I mean, there's so many things behind it that they know what's going on, right? They're not going to tell us because they want to control their narrative. And that's my basic opinion on that it's been there. It's always been there. You go back to Davy Crockett. He had a Bigfoot encounter, right? But then again, did he really? He makes mention that he had mind speak. And as it turned out, it was a First Nations person covered in clothes of a deer. So, I don't know. It's there. It's always been there. It's been since the 50s, the 40s. And I think it's been covered up ever since then.
All right. You got 90 seconds, Tex. How can you answer that question?
Money. That didn't take 90 seconds, did it? No. I think what we're going to see is soft disclosure, just like we've seen with the UFOs. If you look at all the movies that are being made, the kids' movies that are being made, even those are leaning towards the woo, but I think that once they run out of, the government has already said, the U.S. government's already said, yes, UFOs are out there. We've been investigating them. Here's the proof, blah, blah, blah. And I think we're going to see the same thing I think we're going to see disclosure in my lifetime. And I'm 54. So within another 50 years, we'll see disclosure. Because I plan to live to about 104.
Nice. How old's the beard if you're 54? Just out of curiosity.
The beard's young. The beard's only been there since July.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Tex and Rob, I'm going to get you guys to hold on there for just a couple of seconds because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Searching for Sasquatch. We are looking for Bigfoot. Yes. Where is the Mugwump hiding? Let's find out with more stories from the forests of North America with Tex and Bigfoot Rob as we talk Sasquatch all night long here on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. More after this. All right, guys, we're clear.
All right.
All right, it's about this time where we put out the call for the Dutchman, Gary. We're like, hey, Gary, the Dutchman, where are you? We need some Mighty Moose beard oil. And that's what I got right here, the True North blend. That's the newest blend right there. This one I said he should have called Sasquatch, but he doesn't listen to me. You know why? He's Dutch. That's why. And you know what's really cool about Dutch people? They don't give you a deal. But Gary the Dutchman is, if you use promo code SOR2019 by going to MightyMooseBeard.com. I love this stuff. And ladies, it's not just beard oil. You can put it in your hair as well. All right? It's real simple. Just give a little squeeze just like that to fill it on up. Twist off the lid. Drop it into your hands like so. Put the lid back. Make sure you don't spill because people like you, Dave, if you're like Dave, you're pretty clumsy. And then you just massage it into your hands just like this. And then just massage it in. Look how good it looks already. Look at that. And then for the ladies, you can put it in your hair, or even men. You can put it in your hair. It's all natural, no chemicals, and literally, not just to be truthful about it, it helps you with split ends, so make sure you don't get any. It naturally oils your hair. And that way you're not wasting it at all. Now, Gary the Dutchman, once again, is going to give you a deal. You got to go to SOR or to MightyMooseBeard.com. Order up your beard oil. It's in Canadian dollars, people. So if you're in the U.S. and you want to buy some moose oil beard for, say you want to buy a couple bottles and the price shows like $50 Canadian or $40 Canadian, you're literally only paying about $6 because our dollar is so low. No, it's a little more than that, but you get the point that I'm getting. You're going to save some money on the exchange. So make sure you check it on out. MightyMooseBeard.com. Use promo code SOR2019. Tell Gary the Dutchman that Dave sent you by using that promo code, and he's going to cut you a deal on the beard oil. So make sure you check it on out. MightyMooseBeard.com. There. Got that in there. I smell great right now. I'll be honest with you. I do. I smell great.
Well, let's see here. MightyMooseBeard.com.
Yes.
Yeah, Tex, get it, buddy. Gary the Dutchman. Hey, this is quite a challenge for me, as I made mention backstage for the show. I moved my mom into my house, right, because of health issues. Yeah, my Lord, every break, she's like, Robbie. Well, she's watching the show upstairs on YouTube right now, and she's like, digging it, which is cool. But yeah, I got to help her out. She's going to have 2 knees replaced, man. She's 75.
What's your mom's name?
Pam.
Hi, Pam. How are you? I'm Dave. Oh, your mom's going to be 75. My mom just turned 78 years old today.
Wow, okay. Congratulations.
Yeah. Called up
Is
Phil.
Mom listening to us?
No, Mom doesn't like this kind of stuff.
What about yours, Rob?
She likes it now. She loves, when I started the show.
Involved.
My mom told me I was full of crap when, we're off the air. Well, anyway, I won't swear, but she thought I was full of blank when I told her about my Bigfoot encounter, but she believes me now. And now she's really into it, man. Ever since I hooked up with Tex on Trinity Peer Crypto Research and Brunch with Bigfoot, she watches every show. She loves it. Hey, and Dave Scott, as I mentioned earlier, man, she loves you. She loves your long beard, and my mom hates beards, so I guess she's got a crush on you, I guess.
Woo! So I got Pam the mom, and I got Grandma Rose. Nice.
Well, this is for you, Mama Pam. Mwah.
Yes. Mwah, to you too, all the way from Canada.
I hear her. She's knocking on the floor. I can hear her upstairs going, ha ha. She's laughing.
Wonderful. I love it.
Yeah, she's good people, man. I love them. You got to take care of them. When we were 5 years old, they took care of us. Now I got to I don't want to say it on here. She'll be listening to me. So I love you, Ma.
That's okay. That's allowed to be said here. Moms are special. Moms are very special. We got to take care of them. We only get one.
Absolutely. And I cherish it. My dad passed away 5 years ago, and, it set her back. She was traumatized like anybody, and I was too. And I'm glad. I love spending each and every day with her, man.
Wonderful. Hold on, guys. We got 10 seconds. Big thanks to Trev, Cat Chaser, Vinster, Lib, Jeremy, 509, Chad, and Greco for the super chats. Here we go, everyone. Let's start it off. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us in as we're talking about Sasquatch all night long. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with our show tonight with Tex and with Bigfoot Rob. They have a great podcast on YouTube called Brunch with Bigfoot. This is where they talk all Bigfoot stories. These guys have some fantastic stories to share with us about the big hairy beast that's running through the forest. And no, it's not me or my buddy Mark with our shirts off here in British Columbia's savage forest that we have. All right, gentlemen, welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Dave. It's a pleasure, brother.
Hey, all right, let's get back into story time here, because, Tex, we're going to lead it off with you. There's a lot of talk about whether or not this creature has any supernatural abilities, whether it has any type of cloaking mechanisms. We discussed a little bit of that before we go to break. Out of the people that you have talked to over the years about this subject, is there a weird story that kind of sticks out for you that left you scratching your head?
Well, there's a lot. I can't say the name. I can't say the place.
Oh, my Lord. I love this story.
But there was a gentleman. I don't know if this is the same story, Rob.
Okay.
Which one are you thinking about?
I'm talking about Gray.
Oh, that's a dog man. That's a dog man story.
Yeah, it is. Go ahead, Tex.
But on the Bigfoot side of things, there's a gentleman that I personally know that communicates with these critters. And when he moved across the country, they followed him. Yes, sir. Within a few months, they were on his property. Same group that he dealt with for years. Now, I don't know, and I love the boy to death, and he's one of the best people you'll ever meet. But I personally worry because I'm not sure that it's Bigfoot that he's dealing with. But to follow you across the country is flat out amazing to me. And I don't know how Bigfoot pulled it off because I know they didn't get on no plane.
Sounds like he's got some aliens.
It could be aliens. I can't rule that out, but I'm worried it's something
A little bit more sinister.
a little bit more sinister. Yeah. And I got to tell you, the things that we've been running across out in the field, unfortunately, are supporting that. Because we are running across things that the premise of our investigation now has turned from Bigfoot to finding out what is Bigfoot, because it seems to be that we've taken a whole bunch of different phenomena and shoved it underneath the Bigfoot umbrella. Mm-hmm. And what I've been experiencing out in the field, a lot of what I've been experiencing out in the field, is it's trickery at its best. It's mischief.
Trickery how?
Showing itself as different things. We had a group of 5 people that had 3 entities that were approaching us from the downhill side of where we were, that it looked like eye shine at first. They were on all fours. One was up in a tree, and every time we hit them with a flashlight, they disappeared. You turned the flashlight off, they were right back in the same spot. We got audio of disembodied voices, growls that we never heard. I was with the other group. We were getting stalked from the other side of where we were. We never saw what was coming our way on the backside. When we were coming out, we found what seemed to be, can't say for sure, I wish they were clearer, but what seemed to be about 6-inch diameter cloven hoof prints. Bipedal cloven hoof prints on the downhill side of where we were, headed up to where we were. One of the fellas swore we were being stalked by a big cat. When we come out of where we were, one of the members saw what he thought was a big cat cross the road coming out of where we just come out of. And we found a track of a big cat in the middle of the road. Bigfoot was nowhere to be found. What we saw, we've experienced dark shadows, 8-9 feet tall, running through our camp, walking up in our camp, just outside of the firelight, walking by cars. It's we don't know what we're dealing with, but that's not all Bigfoot. And these are the same areas where I've had daylight sightings of Bigfoot. Why they're in this area and why I don't think they feed off of each other. I don't think Bigfoot's using these things. I think these entities or this entity is using Bigfoot, and I think Bigfoot's the distraction. I think you have something else in the background pulling the puppet strings. And I think that's where a lot of the woo is coming into it.
Rob, what's your thoughts?
As I was talking earlier, man, I think that when you're in the woods, as Tex is talking about, you don't know what you're coming off on. You don't know what the experiences are. And I think that a lot of people are diffracted or deflected from thinking maybe it's a Bigfoot, maybe it's this or that, when if you look at it, it's high strangeness, man. We don't know what it is. I mean, every day that I think I know something, I take a step backwards. And as Tex was explaining, what is this? What is this? What is going on out here? Because you could be looking for something, think you find something, but it has nothing to do with your initial investigation. And I think that's why we don't have answers today, because I don't want to say we don't know what we're looking for, but we don't know what we're experiencing in the forest, in the woods, wherever it is, because the phenomenon and the woo factor, I love the woo, and I think the woo is true, and it kind of deflects us from what we're searching for. So what happens is this: we get confused on what we're searching for. Now, obviously, if you've been doing it for 50 years looking for Bigfoot and you got the idea, you know where to look. Obviously, you go 50 miles into the woods off the beaten path to look for these giant creatures. But is it really what we're seeing? See, I don't know. I think there's something else out there. I think this all ties together to the big spectrum. None of us know what we're looking at. Sure, you have your big Bigfoot researchers say, yeah, they see this, you got prints, you got this, and you got the other. Fine and dandy. And I appreciate that. And that's why I love it. But we just don't know. I mean, there's so many times that we go into the forest, we don't know what we're looking at. We walk past Bigfoot. We walk past Dogman. We walk past a ghost. You talk about in the middle of a forest, there's stairs leading up to the sky, and you don't know where that came from. Who put that there? I don't know where it came from. You come back, it's gone. Hey, when I saw the Bigfoot on the shore in Cadillac, Michigan, I had time loss. I was in a state of mind where I lost time. I saw a filter of black and white. What was that? I don't know. Infrasound, whatever. But the point being is this: we just don't know. And that's why I love what we're doing, what everybody out there is doing, because it's so intriguing. It's just the unknown, and I don't think we'll ever have answers to this.
Right. One of the big jokes that we talk about when we go out in the forest here is, how many animals do we pass that we don't even see?
Yep.
Like we could go out in the forest for 6-8 hours and not see anything outside of a bird or maybe a squirrel. And yet they're there. They're out there. But it really shows how animals adapt to their territory. They know how to camouflage. They know how to stand completely still. They know absolutely everything on how to protect themselves. And I think that is quite true. However, with this creature, and with all due respect to what you're saying there, Tex and Rob, I'm not sure, or I am not convinced yet that there isn't something special about it. I'm not going to say supernatural. I'm leaning that way. If you'd asked me 4 or 5 years ago, I would have said 100% supernatural. Previous to that, I would have told you before my encounters that there is no way that this thing was alien or interdimensional or anything along those lines. That's just impossible. But the more I opened up to First Nations stories and the legends they have, then when you see evidence that has been provided over years with photographs and videos of footprints that just end in the snow, I don't buy the BFRO report that says, oh, this creature walks backwards in its print. Well, you would have a double print, and snow collapses on itself. You would completely have a double print. And so I just really look at this and say, okay, what is this? Is it supernatural? Is it demonic? Does it have its own abilities? Is it extraterrestrial? The fact is, we don't know. We can have belief on it. So how do we try and pare that down, guys? How do we try and focus in on trying to figure out what this is if we can't even agree what we're looking for?
Oh, man.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rob.
No, man, Dave, man. You know how many times I've changed my opinion on Bigfoot in the last 2.5 years? I seen a creature from shoreline that looked human, looked like a person with Down syndrome, but yet it's covered with hair. As I said earlier, reddish brown hair. Looked really weird but scary. And then when it opened its mouth and dropped it, it looked like a demon. Now I'm thinking, first of all, Dave, I'm thinking flesh and blood as I recount. Then I'm thinking now, after the metamorphosis that this thing took, it was different than what I was looking at within 2 seconds. It changed. It looked like a demon. As I always say, demon. I'm not saying Bigfoot's a demon for folks out there listening. I don't believe that, but that's what I thought. And I continue to say that to this day in 2.5 years. How did it look like? How did it make this metamorphoses into a Marvel comic book? How did it open its mouth and embellish vocalizations that hit me like a bomb going off, and the shockwaves hit my body? My girl falls off the boat. I get paralyzed. I get stunned. I'm seeing in black and white. I think that time has stopped. Man, my opinion has changed day to day, week to week, month to month. The more I do the show with Tex, the more I continue to do my research, which is not boots on the ground as yet, which I plan to get into to make me be more well-rounded. But I don't get it. I cannot give an honest opinion because that's how perplexing this is for me.
And I can see that. And I can see the stress and the strain in yourself. Tex, you've been doing this a lot longer than Rob and I have. Did you go through that same type of, I call it stress, but same type of debate within yourself?
Well, I got to tell you, my first encounter, and I've said this 1,000 times, you question your own sanity, because you're seeing something that you're told don't exist. So, I think everybody that has any kind of paranormal or out of the ordinary encounter like this, I think everybody goes through that internal debate. And I think some people just land in different areas with it because that's how they deal with it. That's how they wrap their mind around it. Now, I've had a lot of people say, I don't want Bigfoot to be supernatural because I can punch something in the nose and I can't punch something that's supernatural in the nose. Well, it depends what you call supernatural. You've got a creature now. If you compare them to, let's go the gorilla route again. If you compare them to gorillas, and that's really the only, them and chimps, really the only comparison even close that we have that we can put some math to. Okay. Or even behavior, because if you look at the reports, a lot of it mirrors primate behavior. I'm sorry, it just does. I'm not saying they're a primate. I think they're an ancient people, or not. I think they're an offshoot, another species of human hominoid. Okay, that's what I think. I don't think they're a big dumb animal, but I don't think they're interdimensional beings either. I think for some reason these other entities are using them.
Right. But Tex, that's why I respect with what you do. You're not afraid to share your opinion, but you're not closed-minded enough to say it isn't supernatural. It isn't interdimensional. It doesn't have any special powers when it comes to always looking blurry on camera. You know, you are out there, and I think you're doing it the right way, if I do say so myself, okay?
Thank you.
By keeping an open mind. And you know, this is where I think our audience has really benefited from the likes of you and Rob and Nate Rudd in Spokane, Duke from World Bigfoot Radio, who had, if you're not signed up for his channel, everybody should be on YouTube at least. And I got to tell you, this is something that I find very, very constructive in trying to find and figure out the answers to this mystery. Because if we are closing doors, like at least 60-70% of the Bigfoot field does, oh, I'm looking for the monkey, I'm looking for the great ape, you know, we're looking for Gigantopithecus's great nephew and niece, right? If we keep closing doors to the mysteries, we're not going to solve what this creature is. Whether the government is hiding it or not is irrelevant. We can't solve something if we don't know what it is. We just know that there is something of a big, hairy stature out there, and that's what we got to go with. We don't know if it's causing the missing 411 children or people. We don't know if it's attacking and killing others. We don't know. And that's the big issue that we have. But I love the way that you keep the door open. It's great to have an opinion, but it's not great to force that opinion on the research Tex.
Right.
Yeah, and and I've went out in the field with, and I don't like the term woo. There's got to be something better we can come up with. But I went out in the field with people that believe that way. And I've been told that they don't like it when we hoot and holler and knock and all this kind of stuff because they consider it disrespectful. Okay. I've talked to people, been out in the field with people and that they have them on their property. They've gotten, so close to them that they touch them. And I'm sorry. My first question is, if you communicate, you have a relationship with these things, why aren't you taking selfies with them?
I mean, there's people claiming that they're having sexual relationships with these creatures. And they're getting front cover on the Inquirer.
Yeah.
Well, too, and that's the thing, too, that sets this whole research back for those that have researched. Bigfoot's, he's marketing beef jerky. Bigfoot has sex with an alien. Bigfoot was seen lifting a truck off the freeway. And that's another thing, too, that doesn't let this subject go forward because everyone thinks it's a joke, much like the UFOs. Hey, I was picked up and screwed by an alien. I mean, that is the thing that really has to stop because you can't move forward. I understand. You have to go backward to go forward, but when the marketing is out there, it makes our jobs tougher.
It really does.
Well, and one of the problems is, we talk about the government hiding and the government, won't let the truth out. They don't have to do. The Bigfoot community does the work for them.
Right.
I mean, because we're so. Everybody is so worried about who gets this many views, who gets this many subscribers, who gets this. How can I make this guy look bad and me look good? We eat our own young in the Bigfoot community. We've got to come together. You've got to be open-minded. You've got to cross aisles, for lack of a better term, from the gorilla camp to the woo camp. You cannot close things off.
Gentlemen, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because no truer words have been said about the Bigfoot community than what you guys were just talking about right there. We got Tex, we got Bigfoot Rob. We're going to be talking more Sasquatch right after this on Spaced Out Radio. Okay, guys, you can talk away to the audience. I'm going to just run outside, okay?
Okay. See what we got going in here, Rob.
There's a lot going on. Hey, once again, everybody in chat. I'm usually in chat with all these people.
Vinny Barbarino says, I did not have sexual relations with that
Bigfoot. hey, Vinny Barbarino too. Vinny, man, I like that guy. Him and Rye, they got a good.
Now
they got a funny show.
Here's a serious question. Tex, do you use an EMF meter? This last investigation that we did, it was a collaboration between us and two other groups, What the Paranormal and P3 Productions. We threw some technology at what we were doing. We had EMF meters, we had spirit boxes, we had game cameras, we had recorders, we had this, we had that, we had night vision. I mean, and we had some really, really strange results. That whole trip, I mean, and in fact, Rob, it was you hosted the last Texas Front Porch that we, we had the whole group out there, and or on the show, and we all went over, what happened, and we're all still scratching our heads. And I'm telling you guys, off air and privately, we're all talking about what happened and trying to get our minds wrapped around, because there's so many ideas, and the theory is the wrong word, but ideas and spitballing what happened.
You're right. Theory is the wrong rope. Yeah, theory, whatever. My head is just exploding over all this, and our show, we're gonna put out a few more episodes encapsulating the rest of Brown Springs, and I can't wait until you get more of that developed, and it's going to be great. And I want to give a big shout out to Bomber. Hey, Bomber, I love you, girl. How you doing? I got to take off, check on Mama.
All right, man. But, if y'all want to hear about what happened to us, we had Monday, we had a show, and we had, everybody that was out in the field with us, pretty much everybody was out in the field with us, on the show. And Rob hosted it, and me and Jason normally host the show, but me and Jason were out in the field. So we had Rob host the show, and he questioned all of us. So, and we shared our experiences and stuff. And we're still combing through footage and audio. But just the stuff that we've came across already is just phenomenal. It really is. And it's confusing, but there's something else at work here. This is not all Bigfoot. And I don't think that anybody that if you listen to a lot of these researchers and they go out and they're seeing orbs, they're seeing ghosts, they're hearing voices, they're getting EVPs while they're searching for, while they're looking for Bigfoot. Why? Why is this happening? I don't think it's Bigfoot that's using these entities as a smokescreen. I think it's the other way around. I really, really do, because this entity is smart enough to know that we're going to be out there looking for Squatch, and they can play with us. And I think they thrive on that energy. I think they live on that energy. I mean, if you look back at all the trickster gods, all the mischief gods, that's what they did. And I mean, we had lights going out at the same time. I mean, pow, my light and the paranormal group's light, What the Paranormal, great people. We were standing right beside each other, and our lights went out at the same time. Right. And then they started acting, weird. I mean, it's just in all kinds of stuff. It's just weird. It's not all Bigfoot, but I don't think I think Bigfoot's just along for the ride. Poor things.
We got about a minute left here, guys.
All right. That'll give me time to scoot off to the little boy church.
Mm-hmm. Hey, guys, I'm having a blast tonight. Thank you for doing this.
I'm having a great time, Dave. Thanks for having us on, man.
Oh, no problem.
I'm sorry for starting out slow, man. You know, every time I ever talk about my encounter, I get all frazzled, and
that's all
you know,
right.
it's the way it goes.
We still love you.
Oh, I know you do. I love you too, man. Love everybody in chat. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, absolutely. They're happy you're here too. Hey, I want to say a big thank you to our super chatters for tonight. Grendel, T-Rev, Cat Chaser, Vinster, Jeremy, Long Island Bigfoot ×2, Chad, 509, and Greco. We really do appreciate the love and support that you are giving us on a nightly basis here on Spaced Out Radio. It really helps out the entire cause. Thank you to all of our new subscribers out there. We really do appreciate you guys helping us out and helping our channel grow as well. Don't forget to ring that bell and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Here we go, everyone, with hour number 3 coming up in about 5 seconds here.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
It's the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune us on in. We appreciate everyone tuning in wherever you are on this beautiful planet that we call Earth, especially those who are listening on in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Effusiometer. Effusiometer is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on talking Sasquatch tonight with Bigfoot Rob and Tex. They are with a great YouTube podcast called Brunch with Bigfoot. And I highly suggest you sign on up for it because it is fantastic. A lot of great stories being passed along. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Thanks, Dave.
Appreciate it, brother. Happy to be here.
We're glad you guys are here, too. Let's tell some stories here. We got 30 minutes left with you guys. Let's tell some stories here. Tex, let's start with you on this one. You know, we've heard incredible encounters on this show. Everything that are filled with, like, strange encounters with this creature to ones that are kind of eerie, like Gary Spikes Jr., where the Sasquatch was literally looking at him through his vehicle window. You know, when you look at the stories that you have heard over the years, give us one that really sticks out to you that you've heard from someone.
Well, okay. Everybody wonders about what Bigfoot does with their dead. All right. I got a report off of the Red River that there was a hunter down there, and he saw a Bigfoot, and he gut shot it with a 30-30. Now, if you don't know anything about rounds or hunting rifles, 30-30 packs a heck of a punch. It's a good brush gun because the bullet doesn't deviate when it hits a small branch. It'll blast right through it. But it's got a short range on it. But anyway, it's a good sized slug. Now, he gut shot one of these critters. It stumbled out in the middle of the river on a sandbar. 2 more Bigfoot rushed it. One hit it high, just like football. One hit it high, one hit it low, and they broke its neck. Then they tore it apart and ate it. Now, there's another story about an old boy that was setting up a deer stand on the Texas side of the Red River. And he had planned to be in this deer stand. He boated down river to this spot, jumped out of his boat and went in there and built his deer stand about 100 yards offshore into the brush. He was planning to be in that brush for about a week and deer hunt. Well, evidently, the critters in there had tried to give him hints. You need to leave. We're up here. And he didn't know what it was going on. He said they were, like stuff was hitting his deer blind. And, he would hear noises and stuff, but he ignored it. The third night in, now this deer blind, it wasn't high off the ground. It was only about 6-7 feet off the ground. But he had built it pretty sturdy because he's going to stay in it a week. Well, that third night, they got tired of him. And he had 3 Bigfoots rush his deer stand, start sticking their arms in there trying to snatch him and everything else. The thing about it was they covered all sides of this thing except the exit, except the door with the ladder running to it. He left everything. There were optics that he was using. There was ammo that he had. There was food. There was sleeping gear, everything. He left it all, grabbed his gun and ran out, broke the bottom step of his ladder when he jumped down and was running towards his boat. They escorted him out, yelling at him, breaking trees and everything else parallelly. Now, I know that a lot of people are going to say, well, that's an aggressive encounter, good grief. Not really, if you think about it. If they wanted this guy, they could have just ripped that deer stand apart, got him and done what they wanted to and had him over to spit in, a few minutes. They didn't. They left him out. They just wanted him out of there. And they made sure he got out. But he will never, he was one of these people that when he was talked to that said, this guy was talking to him and said, look, you left all this gear up there. We know where it's at. We'll go back up there and get it for you. I don't want it. They can have it. I'm never going hunting again. I'll never step foot in the woods. I'm done with it. I'll never talk about it again. Y'all get out of my house. So that's a few. I mean, and there's the story. This is kind of dark and it's kind of morbid, but Brown Springs, Oklahoma, 1984, 85, I believe. There was a couple that went missing. And they had went out parking down there in Brown Springs, and they found them. And the guy was thrown over in the brush away from the car.
Right.
He was folded in half backwards with his head turned around backwards. And then the girl, she was spread eagle on the hood, and she had been tore smooth up. She had been sexually assaulted so bad it gutted her. That is still, and we looked into that. That is still an open investigation. So, I mean, can these things be deadly? If that's what did that, we hear a lot of reports of, Bigfoot. That's one of their key things is, when they attack humans, they'll twist their head around backwards. So I think they can be pushed to be deadly. I think they can be triggered to be deadly, just like any other person, just like any other wild animal. I think different tribes or troops or groups, however you want to look at them, have a different outlook on humans. It's the same. I mean, look at the tribes of humans that we've had. You have some that were peaceful. You have some that were cannibals, headhunters. Why are these things any different? If they have the intelligence level that they're close to human as we give them credit for being, why wouldn't they have the same different personality traits and beliefs?
Very true. Rob, what's your opinion? Do you have a story out there that really stuck with you?
You know, Dave, I've got several stories regarding Bigfoot that I've heard throughout the last few years that all stuck with me. But, you know, what I would like to do is, you know, I'm speaking from other people's stories they told me. What I'd like to do, since we're coming up on the end of the hour, is give a factual encounter that I had regarding an apparition. And I think we want to end it with the woo, and I'm going to give it the woo factor. Incredible encounter that I had. This was about 10 years ago. And to frame the story, my brother's name is Dave, my sister-in-law is Karen, and I got Davy and Lauren, my niece and nephew. They purchased a house about 10 years ago, which they don't live in today. They have a new house. I would frequent their house and visit my niece and nephew. And my niece at the time, Lauren, was about 5 years old. Davy was 7. And I'd go there, and they live probably an hour from where I live currently. So anytime I went there, I usually spent the night because, quite frankly, we would have a good time, and I wasn't going to drive home. So they had a 4-bedroom room, and the bedroom I stayed in was about 30 feet down from Lauren, my niece's room. And I spent the night there on several occasions. And one of the first nights when I spent the night, I'm laying in bed. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. The bedroom door opens to my bedroom. And I'm looking. I see a shadow of about a 4-foot tall little girl who I think is Lauren, my niece. I'm like, "Hi, Lauren. It's Uncle Robbie. You want to sleep with Uncle Robbie?" Well, the door shuts. Okay, whatever. I think nothing of it. A few weeks later, I spend the night at my brother's house. The door opens again, 3 o'clock in the morning. And it's funny because every time I looked at the clock, it was always around 3 o'clock in the morning. Door opens, shadow of a little girl, long hair, but it's a shadow, but it looks like the frame of my niece. "Hi, Lauren, Uncle Robbie, you playing games?" Shuts the door. Third time this happens, same exact scenario. Door opens, 3 o'clock in the morning. Again, "Hey, Lauren, Uncle Robbie, you want to come in, sleep with Uncle Robbie, tell some tales?" Shuts the door. Now on the third time, I jump out of my bed and I race down the hall because I think she's just trying to play a practical joke on me. I get to her bedroom door. I open it. I go in expecting to see her trying to jump in her bed. She is laying sound asleep, tucked in like you would tuck in if you're in the Army and you tucked your own blanket, tucked in so tightly. There is no way that she ran down the hallway, jumped in bed, tucked herself in at 5 years old as tightly as she did, and she was sound asleep. In fact, I got close to her face. She was out. She was sleeping. Now, maybe about a couple months later, I'm talking with my mother, and she says, "Does Lauren play games with you?" "What do you mean, Ma?" "Like open your door and shut it, pretend like she's there and not." And I'm like, now I'm starting to think, right? Thanksgiving, we're sitting around the Thanksgiving table. Great spread. Karen laid out for us. We're all talking. Davy and Lauren, they kind of venture off, go to bed. So I happen to bring up what happened to me. I said, Lauren plays these games, but the other night, man, she is quick as a devil because she peeks in on me when I'm sleeping during the night, and she takes off. And boy, I said, but you guys, when I went to her bedroom, she was sound asleep, man. She was tucked in tight and snug. Dave and Karen, my brother and my sister-in-law, look at me. Their jaws, they drop. Karen, my sister-in-law, proceeds to tell me, Rob, there's a playroom for Lauren, and I see Lauren in the bedroom always talking to somebody, as though she's talking to a person, but she's playing, and Karen thought nothing of it, like she's a 5-year-old kid. But she always see her yapping. So Karen one day opens the playroom door, comes in. Hey, Lauren, who are you talking to? Oh, my friend Jenny. She goes, oh, that's really cute. Your pretend friend? No, Mama. My friend Jenny. But every time you walk in here, she takes off. She doesn't like people. She does not like adults. And Karen was like, okay, well, wrote it off as imagination for a young child. This happened several other times. Karen would come in. Mom, please. Every time you come in, Jenny takes off. Well, why does not Jenny like adults? Well, Mom. Well, to be quite honest with you, she lived in this area, not this house, which is a new house, but she lived here several hundred years ago, and her entire tribe was massacred by the white man. Wow. Karen's floored. My brother was told a story from Karen. Now my brother starts an investigation on the surroundings of the land. 200 years ago, where they built their house was on a tribal First Nations area where cowboys and Indians supposedly wiped out an Indian tribe. The house was built basically on a graveyard. And when my mother made mention of the fact that she's seen a ghost, I've seen a ghost. Karen saw a Lauren scene, and they've seen people. They saw little apparitions running through the house like a little girl, thinking it was their daughter. Whoa. Hey, when my brother Dave found out about this location and what happened, he goes, hey, this house is haunted. We are not where we should be. Well, frankly, they packed up, they moved. And as a backup to this story, as I further researched it, many people in this part of Michigan all have had encounters of ghosts in that area from children that had passed on. And I won't say 90%, but half, within the last 10 years, more than half of those people have moved and went on.
Wow. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's crazy.
Pretty incredible. And do you think, as we got time winding down, we got about 5.5 minutes, Tex, do you think there is a tie between the paranormal and the cryptid world?
It's like I said earlier. I think I don't think the cryptids are using the paranormal world. I think, and I don't think they're really tied together. I think the paranormal world is using the cryptids, as a smokescreen and confusion. Yeah. I mean, that's what I think. I know everybody, talk about Skinwalker Ranch. Look at all the crazy stuff that happens there, and the occasional Bigfoot sighting and, the giant bulletproof wolves and stuff. I don't think that's necessarily cryptid related. I think that's something presenting itself as such. I mean, look, but tell me, they always talk about it as a step ahead of them. It always, stuff like that was always playing jokes on them and everything. It goes right back to these trickster spirits.
Very true.
That's what I think.
Very true. As we are in springtime now, we're well into it, and more people are going to be spending more time outside checking out wilderness, since we're still, as much as the pandemic in your country, not so much here, is starting to wind down in a lot of states. I'm curious, as more people head outside to look into the forest, what's your best advice, Rob, that you would give someone going to look for Sasquatch?
I don't think you're to find Sasquatch off the Bitten Trail. I think the people that do the walks and the hikes in the national forests, if you want to find Sasquatch, and again, I'm not boots on the ground, so to speak, as of yet, but for what I've learned over the last couple of years is this. You're not going to find Sasquatch on the trail. You've got to get off the trail. You've got to go where people don't want to go. You've got to go through the brush. You got to go through the woods. You got to take out the hatchet, the machete, cut down the branches, and park your ass. I don't know if I can say that. I'm sorry. Right there in the middle of nowhere, because Bigfoot does not want to be found, does not want to be seen. They don't like us. They want nothing to do with us. So we have to go where they expect us not to go. If you're going in and camping somewhere, yeah, certainly. We've all heard stories about Bigfoot coming into campsites right off the beaten path, right? Fine and dandy. However, you want to find the big ones, you want to make communication, you go into the forest, you go deep. You don't go where no man wants to go. That's my opinion. Never done it, so I can't state that as a fact, but in my mindset, you go where they expect you, me, Tex, not to go.
All right, with 2.5 minutes, Tex, I want to get your opinion on that.
Well, I have a little different of opinion, and that's what makes our group great. We all have different opinions, and we don't always agree. So we agree to disagree a lot of times. I don't think you're going to go out and you're going to find Sasquatch. I think you're going to go out and Sasquatch is going to find you. Right. if they want, but they are curious. I've had them come up 10, 15 feet within camp. They will come check you out. But you're not going to go to some city park and find them. No, Rob's right. But if you get a place with good water source and relatively hard to get through places, it's in off the beaten path, and you may get lucky, but honestly, the big number one advice for me, that if you're going to go do this, be safe about it. That's number one. Be safe and be prepared for what you might run into, because it ain't always going to be Bigfoot. And not everything that you see, not every branch, not every shadow, not every little owl sound is a Bigfoot. You have to be your own worst skeptic.
That's the big thing. Gentlemen, with a minute to go here as this show has flown on by, do me a favor and just tell everybody where they can find Brunch with Bigfoot.
You can find us on YouTube under the channel is Trinity Paracryptid Research. Now, we have Brunch with Bigfoot, and we also have Texas Front Porch on Mondays at 6:30. Brunch with Bigfoot is Thursdays at noon Central Time. Both shows are Central Time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a channel called Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Not a lot of content, you guys. However, I ask you to subscribe, because what I do is I do the advertising, some of the advertising for Trinity Paracryptid Research, and I put out tidbits on what's coming up on our Monday and Thursday shows. And also I plan on kind of expanding it in another year or so, tied in with Tex, because I love Tex, and we're gonna keep this going together. We have a great family, as Tex said earlier, with Jason McLean and the executive producers that he has going on over there. So I'm not going anywhere, but check out my channel. Check out Trinity Paracryptid Research, Brunch with Bigfoot.
Bigfoot Rob Tex, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire. We have the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Good job, boys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
That was a fun show.
I liked it, man. I had a great time, man.
That was a lot of fun. The audience really liked that too, guys. They really liked that too.
Yeah, I see it in chat. I signed up for Bigfoot Rob.
Yeah, it's a great thing, Dave, man. Me and Tex and Jason, we got a good thing going, and we'll be around for a while, man. And I just love it. I love what you do too, Dave. I love your channel. 2 years ago, I watched you. I'm hooked, as you know, and good, respectable shows, man. And me and Tex and Jason were coming around, man.
All right. I love it, guys. I absolutely love it. And, it's nice, honest talk about this creature, whatever it is. It's nice, honest talk. And, I don't think there's a lot or enough of that out there. And this is why I have no problem standing behind Duke. I have no problem standing behind you guys and what you're doing, or Nate Rudd or Gary Spikes or anybody like that. I know I've mentioned those names a lot tonight, but I really don't give a care. It's my show, and I want to be able to point people in the right direction rather than this hokey crap of monkey talk and Nephilim talk and all of this. I mean, and that's good advice for our listeners too, and somebody who maybe just a random listener who's picking this show up. Look for people who have open minds. When you have people out there who are investigating something because they don't believe it is one thing or another, all they're doing is providing you opinion. They're not providing you research or anything. And that's what I really love about all of you guys. And I think this field is very much better off for it with shows like yours, Brunch with Bigfoot, and shows like World Bigfoot Radio. And, Steve Stockton does great work on the West Coast here with his podcast adventures as well. I think it's fantastic. And that's where we need to direct people to.
Yeah, you have, and I really do, this field will be advanced so much further than it is if people would just cut all the BS and just be honest.
Yeah.
Because and one thing that we're running into is, I don't think it's so much now, but a while back the problem was people thought they had to have this grandiose encounter that was, fantastic and everything to be things about Sasquatch. Well, thank you. To quote unquote bother us with it, but that's not true. We're going to learn more from an honest, call it benign encounter than we are about these embellished ones that we hear all the time. Because this is behavior that we can look at and say, okay, it was repeated over here, it was repeated over here, and then we're hearing it again.
Yeah, and that's so true, Tex, because you can always hear about, now my encounter, of course, takes the cake, but you always hear about the Sasquatch crossing the road, right?
Right.
And people dismiss that. But you know what? It can't be dismissed because they've seen a Sasquatch cross the road. And if we can get this data, put it in the computer or whatever, I don't know, I'm not, and analyze this stuff, because you know what? It's always the same behavior over and over. Put it in a matrix.
Witness testimony is the best thing we've got.
You got that right. Gentlemen, I got to cut you guys loose here because I got to get ready for the news. Much love to both of you. And yes, I will, Tex, come back on. Just get me some dates. Thursdays, Saturday evenings, and Sundays work best for me.
Awesome.
All right, guys. You
Thank
take
you.
care.
Love you, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you for a wonderful show.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
All right.
All right. Fantastic show. Fantastic. Yeah. what's their show called? Brunch with Bigfoot. Brunch with Bigfoot. That's going to be a great show. And Sovereign, no, we aren't getting L.A. Marzulli anytime soon or probably ever again after he backed out a couple hours before, about 35, 40 minutes before showtime the last time because he was having a temper tantrum. I don't put up with that. We're not a podcast. Here we go. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. We want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Speaking of the news, here we go. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the spatial. NASA's Parker Solar Probe has been using the gravitational pull of Venus for about 3 years to conduct annual data gathering flybys of our sun. But during its most recent past, the probe flew closer to our planetary neighbor than ever before, just 517 miles above the Venusian surface, and detected some unexpected natural radio signals. The low-frequency radio signals we've heard from 7 glorious minutes, and when the Parker Solar Probe was nearest to Venus, that's when they were the loudest. When working to identify the cause of the radio waves, NASA scientists they realized that the probe must have passed through Venus's upper atmosphere, known as the ionosphere, an achievement that had not been planned for, but was surprisingly pleasant that it happened. The frequencies recorded matched the sort of signal that would be emitted by gases there. This is the first direct recording of the Venusian atmosphere in nearly 30 years. Using the signal, scientists then calculated the density of the ionosphere and compared those results to previous measurements and estimations. These new radio measurements were taken shortly after the last solar minimum, a period of time when the sun is least active during its 11-year cycle. Venus's atmosphere, NASA researchers found, is thinner now than it was during the last direct measurement, which happened during a solar maximum. Other observations and hypotheses have suggested this trend, but this is the first direct measurement to confirm it. NASA went on to say, "I was just so excited to have new data from Venus," Glenn Collison said in a statement. He likens this research to discovery to hitchhiking, saying that Venus scientists were eager to make use of this serendipitous type of research and findings that they got. Parker Solar Probe project scientist Noor E. Raffiori said that in the same statement that though the team aims to study the sun, we would not miss an opportunity to gather science data and provide its unique insights into a mysterious planet such as Venus. So basically what they're saying, in a nutshell, is that the radio signals weren't aliens. No, it was some sort of gas in the ionosphere. But we know that's bogus because NASA never talks aliens. On Wednesday, Blue Origin officially announced that its first crew flight to space is targeted for July 20th, suggesting that its extended period of test flights is finally coming to an end. Well, rather than simply placing a seat on sale, The company has announced it's going to auction one off, with the proceeds going to the company's charity. New Shepard flights will take passengers above much of the atmosphere and into space, then allow them an extended period of apparent weightlessness as the capsule free falls back to Earth. The capsule itself is relatively spacious and is equipped with large windows and cushy-looking seats, which are clearly meant to make flight a pleasant experience. The free fall is followed by a parachute-assisted landing, with the booster performing a powered landing separately. If that sounds like a compelling experience for you, your first chance to get in on it is via an auction for a single seat on its first crewed flight. You can get the process started now by submitting a bid at the Blue Origin website. Somehow, I think my $5 donation just is not going to make it. I think this one's going into the millions, and many, many millions. The highest bids on May 19th will be unsealed, and any further online bidding will have to exceed an existing bid. On June 12th, the auction will wrap up with live online bidding. Yeah, this thing's going for millions. Millions. By the way, if you want to buy a seat, it's $250,000. $250,000. Way to make space flight affordable to those who just have a dream and are not going to live it. A 3-year-old boy from Oakbank, Manitoba, decided he had a hankering for some Tim Hortons, so he decided to jump in his battery-powered Jeep and went through the drive-thru of Tim Hortons. Chase Burton made the trip to the coffee shop accompanied by his parents. He wanted a sprinkled donut, so he said, "Let's go for a ride to Tim's," Chase's mother, Christy, said. She said the unlikely sight of a toddler driving through a Tim Hortons drive-thru got great reactions from both staff and customers. They loved it. They were pretty impressed, the mother said. She and Chase got the battery-powered Jeep a couple of months ago and has been getting used to it, the young lad is. He's been driving around, just cruising the streets of Oakbank with his dad and me, Mom said. We go to the park and now Tim's, apparently. She said this probably won't be the last trip to the coffee shop. He loves his sprinkled donuts, and now that he knows he could drive through the drive-thru, he'll probably do it again. Hey, maybe he'll steal his parents' vehicle in a couple of years, drive down to California with $5 and try and buy a Lamborghini. Oh, that story still upsets me. Still upsets me. Oh, my goodness. I don't know why, but it just does. Carlos Gana surveys the windblown waves off popular Santa Barbara County beach every now and again. It is a cold, gray afternoon this time, and only a few people are in the water. A father teaching his son to surf, a lone man waiting in the whitewash. Gana launches his drone video, hoping to spy what might be moving stealthily among them, great white sharks. In decades past, this might seem quite quixotic, but great whites were thought to be somewhat rare in the southern waters, wandering around now and then from the wilder coast up north. Most surfers consider it supremely improbable that one of these apex predators was hunting for food at their break. Well, guess what, boys and girls? Gana spots a great white within a minute and a half of his launch. The animal weaves languidly in the surf line, about 100 yards from the father and son. Wow, he's in the waves, he said. That's so pretty. Soon, he has locked his screen on 4 more juvenile sharks, all near shore. Gana is not surprised. Unlike Police Chief Martin Brody in Jaws, he does not run screaming up the beach and telling everyone to get out of the water, even though he should have. No, the young shark's presence is normal. For much of the year, they are here, and they just are not at this beach. They're elsewhere along the coast, from San Diego to Point Conception. Humans just couldn't see them until now. These types of encounters have always been happening, he says, which shows you just how low the number of attacks are. Gana, through his YouTube channel, The Malibu Artist, I actually subscribe to that, cool, is part of a cadre of researchers and photographers using drones to study great white sharks' behavior and present them in a more realistic light than the hyped-up reality show and horror movies. Either way, I'm not going to California for the beaches. I'm going for Disneyland. I'm going for Knott's Berry Farm, Six Flags, Universal Studios, and maybe for a filming of the old Hollywood squares. And if Guns N' Roses is playing, I'll go there too. Or if it's, then I'm supposed to talk UFOs or ghosts or something. But nonetheless, the beaches are out. The sharks are in. That's their territory. You're a meal. I'm a meal. Let's just leave them alone. A Quebec man broke a Guinness World Record by playing an online video game for 44 hours, 44 minutes, and 44 seconds. Bobby Gamache, who probably lives in his basement, of his parents' house, that is, runs a video game streaming channel on Twitch with his brother Matthew, said the sessions playing World of Warcraft was originally going to end at 34 hours, but he discovered someone else was chasing the same record at the same time. We learned at the time that someone else was actually trying to break the same Guinness World Record, and they were almost close to the 40-hour mark at that time, Matthew said. Bobby actually took it upon himself to actually say, look, you know what? We're already 34 hours into this thing. I can't lose, so let's just go for another 12 hours. And he did. Gamache's final time, 44 hours, 44 minutes, and 44 seconds, earned him the Guinness World Record for longest video game marathon on a massively multiplayer role game called World of Warcraft. Yeah, the previous record of 32 hours, 34 seconds was set by Florida gamer Ian Hames in 2017. To stay awake, I just ate healthy. I tried to have people always talking with me, always active on the chat, and ad breaks, Gamache says. Well, good luck. I'm sure Mom and Dad are proud that you stunk up the basement for 44 hours, 44 minutes, and 44 seconds. Back in the ocean here. Thank you, Captain Shirk. See, this is why my child will not go in the ocean either. A mother recording her 6-year-old daughter playing in the waves at a Hawaii beach captured the moment the girl was chased out of the water by a shark. Mother Sherry said she was recording the video of her daughter, Anila, at Kalama Beach in Kailua, when the girl suddenly ran from the water and shouted that she had seen a shark. By the time she came out of the water, she was hysterical, Mom said. I was like, oh my gosh, so I ran up, but I was looking for it and couldn't see it. I didn't realize it was actually a shark. That's what shocked me, she says. No kidding. Your kid was almost food. Yeah, Mom reviewed her video footage and discovered the shark had indeed came within inches of her daughter. I saw a shark. I didn't notice he was behind my back, so I really wanted to run out. I was really scared, the little one says. Experts reviewed the video and said it appeared to be a black-tip shark, a species known to hunt for fish in shallow waters. They said the girl was not likely in any danger from the shark. I say, sure. Prove it. You know why? We're not supposed to be in the water. Ocean water, that is. Auction House Christie's announced a bottle of French wine that spent more than a year aging on the International Space Station is expected to sell for around $1 million. Christie said the bottle of Petrus 2000 was one of a dozen bottles of wine that were launched into orbit in 2019 and spent nearly 440 days in space before being brought back to Earth. A bottle of wine that spent time in space was compared to a bottle that aged on Earth in a tasting that featured a dozen wine professionals and scientists. And the panel said the space bottle was found to have its own unique flavor profile. The aromatics were more floral and more smoky, the things that would happen anyway to Petrus as it gets older, Jane Anson said. Well, Christie said the bottle of wine is being sold with a second bottle that was aged on Earth so the buyer can compare the two. The sale also includes a decanter, glasses, and a corkscrew made from a meteorite. After spending almost 440 days in space, or the equivalent of 300 trips to the moon, legendary Bordeaux wine Petrus comes back having been transformed in a way which is literally out of this world. Bad pun by Nicolas Gaume, the CEO of Space Cargo Unlimited, the startup that sent the wine to the space station. Christie said the wine bottle is available immediately through a private sale, with proceeds going toward funding future space missions and wine research. Continuing on here, a Malayan woman gave birth to 9 babies on Tuesday, 2 more than doctors had detected inside her very crowded womb, joining a small pantheon of mothers of non-tuplets. The pregnancy of Halima Sisi, she's only 25, has fascinated the West African nation and attracted the attention of its leaders. When doctors in March said Sisi needed to see and have specialist care, authorities flew her to Morocco, where she gave birth. The newborns, 5 girls and 4 boys, and the mother are all doing well, Mali's health minister Fanta Sibi said in a statement. Sisi is expected to give birth, or was expected to give birth to just 7 babies, according to the ultrasounds conducted in Morocco and Mali, that both of them missed 2 of the siblings. All were delivered by cesarean section. Non-tuplets are extremely rare. Medical complications in non-birth and multiple births of this kind often mean that some of the babies do not reach full term. This time they did. You know what? Good luck to the lady, because 9 kids? Oh, man, the poor girl. The poor girl. That's a lot of pain. Good for her, though, for making it. That's why women are so strong. Right there. That is why women are so much stronger than men. 9 kids. Yes, they weren't natural, but to carry around 9 babies and they're all healthy, God bless this woman. Finally tonight, you know what they say about men with big hands, right? Or big feet, or fingers of a certain length? Yeah, you're getting the point. Our point is there are a lot of sayings and theories about how the sizes of different body parts correlate with the size of a man's manhood. If you can't remember them all, don't worry about it. Science is apparently looking into this. A new Japanese study is looking at the nose. Yes, the study discovered that there is a correlation between the size of a man's nose and his ding-a-ling. Basically, the bigger the nose, the bigger the penis. This study is the first to demonstrate the relationship between stretched penis length and nose size, the research team writes in the study. And just so we're clear, SPL, or otherwise stretched penis length, means the maximum length of the penis during erection. This means that the guy's nose is a good indicator of what his equipment is like when he's standing at attention. It also means that more women are going to treat the men like Pinocchio and yelling, "Lie to me, lie to me, oh, lie to me." Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages and then read your responses on the air, because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. What upsets you about Sasquatch research or the researchers? Well, let's find out. Start with Lee. Same thing in the UFO field. Everything is a UFO or Sasquatch before it could be possibly anything else. The crypto guru says the researchers themselves, they are often detrimental to the field for lack of education or foundation in any academic forum. Cheryl Costa. The researchers themselves as well. The ones I met at a conference kept horrible notes and measurements. Their presentations were more about who they were tromping around the woods with rather than documenting a Bigfoot construct or scene. They could learn a lot from watching a season of CSI. Bobby. Not enough Bigfoot romance fiction is being written. Alfred. They're afraid to share their info. We put everything out there for everyone to see. Jeremy. That it may be real, but the idiots keep LARPing their ways around the field. Joshua. Most shows seem too fake, like ghost hunting shows. They always find or hear something, and you know it's just total BS. Some shows are borderline slapstick, but I won't mention any names. Mike. I like this one, Dave. For me, the ego that some have because they have something decent in a pick. Anyone can be the next best pick holder, so I wish we'd all work together for the greater goal than the best photo. Paul John Tavares, still no Stanley Cup for him. Dave, it's got to be boots on the ground and real research that's made for TV. Trish, those of us that have seen one know they are real. I was watching a show last night, The Truth About the Yeti, and then they went to The Truth About Bigfoot. And I was so shocked that they took hairs from around the country and tested them, and no Bigfoot. I have never ever heard of the people that sent in the hairs, so they said it was really misidentified as a bear, wolf, raccoon, last but not least, a porcupine. Go figure. I know. That frustrates me too, Trish. That frustrates me too. We'll continue on here. Screaming Dane, research. Everyone knows you don't search for Sasquatch, Bigfoot, or Yowie. They find you. Ozzy's sister, that you were able to obtain vague photos. Surely if you can capture a vague photo, you should be able to capture some good ones. Anna, any talk of capturing or taking a gun even for defense, leave it alone if you can't guarantee you're not a threat to a potentially critically endangered species. And finally tonight, Phineas, searching for fame as opposed to searching for the answers. My gosh, that is the absolute truth. That is the absolute truth. We got to be searching for more. Got to strive for more. Strive to be better. But the community won't do anything about it because they want TV shows. They want podcasts. They want conferences. They want to see their name and their face on a conference poster. Yes, because the monkeys out there are waiting for us to grab that blurry photo. That next blurry photo is going to be at every Sasquatch conference between British Columbia right down to the swamp apes of Florida. I want to say a big thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Dave on Facebook and on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Big thank you to Captain Shirk for the SOR Newswire. And I'll tell you, we had a couple of great guests tonight in Tex and Bigfoot Rob talking Sasquatch all night long. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal playing in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone participating in our chat rooms tonight on YouTube, LGAB, Twitch, Periscope, Revolution Radio, Facebook, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio with Derek and the Snarkettes. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, say it with me, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.